Today, I'm delighted to say we're joined by Isabel, who is the community manager over at Mews.
Is a property management system. The headquarters are based in Prague, in Czech Republic. I work there as community manager for the product and content team. So it's basically a community for their employees.
How are you trying to get your community, which is the team at Mews, kind of stuck in?
They know how to do their work, but I think I want them to shine in what they do outside of the company.
Are you also involved in in-person organizing events?
Yes, actually, right now I have been putting together virtual events as well, but my intention will be to have either hybrid or in person events as well.
What are you doing to try and get people regularly involved in what you're doing?
For me, I want to engage with them with purpose. They already have meetings, their calendar is already packed with meetings. I want to be mindful of their time.
Do you want to say hello, Isabel? Hello, and welcome to the Digital Community Managers podcast, where we chat with community managers, champions, and founders about their experiences leading and supporting digital communities. My name's Pete Heslop, and I lead the team here at Steadfast Collective, and we exist to craft digital applications that bring people together. We started this podcast to be a bite sized look into what it takes to start, grow, and scale a digital community. And today I'm delighted to say we're joined by Isabel, who is the community manager over at Mews. Do you want to say hello, Isabel?
Yes, hi everyone. Thanks, Pete, for the invite. Really happy to be here.
It's so good to have you. So, why don't we jump in and why don't you tell us a little bit about what Mews is, but also how you got into community management?
Yes, totally. So, well, as I said, my name is Isabel, and I work at Mews. Is a property management system based. The headquarters are primarily based in Prague, in Czech Republic. So, I work there as a community manager for the product and content team. So, it's basically a community for their employees. So, I think this will be a bit more niche, like your typical customer community, which we
Mm.
actually do have now a head of community for our customers. But yeah, that's my role as an internal community manager.
Nice. That is fun. That is a interesting twist on a community manager because normally, yeah, it's very public facing, but you're very much internal, all about kind of the team. Have you had roles in the past which have been more kind of customer outward facing?
Yes, actually, my prior to community, I was a senior customer success manager for leading tech companies. So I think my experience there brought me, like, the role as a customer success is quite
Mm,
customer facing. So for me, I think a very clear example in my mind is when I worked at Tableau in London, where they used to arrange these customer conferences, and I could see it was basically like a rock concert, going to these events where
yeah.
people were so enthusiastic. They also, something that I know that I remember seeing was that people were buying like their hoodies if it said Tableau or data or anything like that. They will
Yeah.
just buy it. They will go crazy. So I think it was just that engagement as a community of customers, and that they were, I think, also their meetups. I'm sure this is happening still to this day, that
Mm,
their meetups are arranged by their users. Tableau doesn't have anything to do with them, as far as I know. So yeah, I
wow.
think the impact that the customer community has, for sure. I think in my previous roles as customer success, that's where I saw it as well.
Nice. I love that. That's so good. So, in your role at Muse, tell us a little bit about what's a day in the life look like? What sort of thing are you getting involved with? How are you trying to get your community, which is the team at Muse, kind of stuck into to getting engaged?
Yeah, I think for me, the priority is that the team are developing their skills. That I think it has hints of, I tell people this, that it has hints of event planner, learning and development. It has so many hints of many different things within this role, because as for me, the employee satisfaction, or of course for the company's employee retention and attracting as well, hopefully candidates as well to the company, that they see, in my case with the product and content team, that they see them out there, and not only in social media, but I think it's also the opportunity, looking for opportunities for them to be at conferences, to be as well podcast hosts, podcast guests as well, for them to have these opportunities to, they might do their, they know how to do their work, but I think it's also that recognition, that in satisfaction that they will get
Okay.
internally and externally, because I think once they go to, let's say, conferences, they get to not only network with other people, but I think it's also the opportunity for them to, hopefully, at least my idea will be actually for them to be speakers, for them to be
Mm.
thought leaders in the space, in their case in product management. So for me, I think it's that, I basically, if I can sum it up in one sentence, I want them to shine
Yeah,
in
yeah.
what they do outside of the company.
So you're helping your community build their personal brand, and learn those skills. That's really great. And so I'm intrigued in the kind of org chart at Muse. Do you fall under kind of the HR section or marketing, or like where do you fall in that kind of team? I'm intrigued.
Yeah, actually, I report directly to the chief product officer.
Okay.
So I think it is good to be that close to the person that oversees the teams,
Yeah.
the people reporting to him, of course, and underneath. I think it's also maybe for practicality. Irka, if you're listening to this, approving as well things. I think it's the relationship that we have is, I bring the ideas. He's like, well, you're the responsible for community, so you just go ahead with it. So
Yeah.
I think I it is a good, it is a good structure. I think for other companies, I think if I remember correctly, product boards, their employee, and I might not remember his full title, but like employee branding, it will fall under HR. I think in other
Mm,
companies it will
mm,
depend. But yes, I think your assumption is correct. I have seen it more under HR than, in my case, product, but also my colleague, which he will be community manager for the tech team. He
mm.
also reports to the chief, for the CTO. He
Nice.
also reports to the chief technical officer. Yeah.
That's really fun. Fab. But we're going to jump straight into some questions. So, number one is about. I'm really excited to hear your take on this from kind of an internal point of view. It's a really exciting kind of angle that you have. So, our number one question is around growth. So obviously your growth is going to be pretty different because your job isn't to grow your staff team. You're not hiring, but how are you trying to grow people who are willing to be kind of involved in the programs and kind of the community that you're building over at Muse?
Yeah, I will say that with every onboarding, like whenever we have people actually joining the team, I will
Mm,
say that it is from the very start looking after that journey, and until, and like getting feedback, like I think with every event, with everything that is happening on their day to day, I think it's good to get that feedback
mm,
from them, to see, especially for myself, okay, how what else could I do, basically, to support them and to help them, um, and in their developments, because I mean, they are the experts. They know what to do, product management or content management in the other team's case. So, but actually, I made a note for maybe for your listeners, for people that are building that customer community, that one tip that I will give them is to look at the data, like if their community has launched already, I will say, to identify trends. And that's also something that I see as well. Like for me, the platform, let's say, and I'm doing, trying to do air quotes here, the
mm,
platform will be Slack. So I will see like if there are any particular questions that maybe the teams, they haven't been able to solve among themselves. I'll be like, well, maybe there's someone that could come in and maybe deliver that. Or
Mm,
so similar to a customer community, I will say identify those insights, the strengths. If you're able to look at data somewhat in your platform, or I
mm.
know there are integrations for Slack as well that could give you the analytics, look at topics, the activity, and the sentiment. I think that's very important within that community.
Okay, so using Slack, that's fantastic. And then in a case of kind of real world stuff, are you also involved in person kind of organizing events?
Yes, actually, we had one internal last month, and it was in conjunction with other colleagues from the
Mm,
tech team and other teams as well. So it was an internal event. So right now, I have been putting together virtual events as well, but my
mm.
intention will be to have, yeah, either hybrid or in person events as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so in terms of those kind of virtual events, what platforms and tools have you seen out there for doing that? Because as a team, we've been using a mixture of Google Hangouts and kind of Slack huddles, and that's all fine. But I feel like there's something like a little bit more out there which we're not exploring. I wondered whether you had any insights into maybe other tools where people can kind of meet and gather online, but maybe in a more fun way or something like that.
Yes, well, one platform, and actually, when I we used to have a podcast, I interviewed, I think he's a CPO of Butter. So
Okay.
it is this very fun, like the fun cousin of Zoom. Well, maybe they are not even related. It's not even a cousin. It's just a completely different platform that I think a lot of facilitators use. So
Okay.
definitely, that's a great platform to host like a fun
Hmm.
event. So for sure, I would recommend that. I'm actually right now trialing Talkbase. That will be
Okay.
more for your event management, and then you can use either if you want to stream through, I think, YouTube and
Yeah.
other platforms, you can do that. But Talkbase will be one of them that I will recommend for to manage your events
Yeah.
as a community for sure. I think maybe as well the audience, if you have joined maybe webinars. I think that's something that I experience myself, that sometimes I will sign up to this webinar, and if I see that the platform it's like so clunky that maybe I just want to, I don't even want to stay for the entire webinar.
Sure.
But I think right now there are a lot of very good platforms. I think Hopin as well, it's a very good platform when they have been hosting events for other companies as well. I think I will
Yeah.
recommend that as well.
Two guests that I have interviewed this week have been from Talkbase and Hopin. So yeah, you've mentioned two really great companies there. It's a small world, the community world.
Yeah. It is very small. I think in overall the tech world, it's very small for sure.
Amazing. So we've talked about trying to get people stuck into what you're doing over at Mews. How are you trying to keep people
Mm.
engaged and regularly kind of getting stuck in? Because obviously, their main priority at their job is to be focused on product, but obviously you want to
Sure.
create a space for them where they want to stick around for more than just a paycheck. There's a reason there. They're behind the vision, but behind the purpose, and a lot of that is community. So, what are you doing to try and get
Mm.
people regularly involved in what you're doing over at Muse?
Yeah, no, you're right. I, at least for me, and I actually have this tip as well for people that are running customer communities. For me, I want to engage with them with purpose, because I don't think it would make sense that they already have meetings, their calendar is already packed with meetings. So for
Mm,
me it wouldn't make sense to like, oh, have office hours, which I know for some communities, for community managers, they do this, they have office hours and they have all of this. So for me, I'm like, I might have people attending, I might have a handful, but I think I want to be mindful of their time. So
mm,
for me, well, at Muse we have, if you want to schedule a lunch or learn, we call them like a type of show and tell type of thing. So lunch or
okay.
learn basically will be around lunchtime for at least European time. Maybe the US will be a bit too early for them. But you can just schedule this in people's calendar and teach people or show people something. And I think that's a good avenue that we have as a company overall. But yeah, engage with purpose. I will say that go back to, and this is as well for a customer community, like go back to the vision and mission of your community. Like, why did you create it in the first place?
Mm,
And I think a practical maybe example is to have like an engagement, I call it engagement content calendar.
mm,
So see that, and whatever it might apply to the listeners, that if they want to again maybe host office hours will make sense. If it's for a software platform, host Q&As, AMAs, share content in that platform, if it's Slack or whatever, any platform that you might have for your community, share content. And I think you might it if especially if someone launched their community, they might see it that it's quiet, but that's okay. It takes time to build community. I think we get this in our own heads that nobody's replying, nobody's engaging, but I think it's also uh, even myself, I have easily 8 different workspaces in Slack. Like,
yeah.
I'm part of so many different communities that I'm not active in, maybe only 2 or 3 out of the 8. So I think it's just, yeah, be consistent and
Mm,
again engage with purpose.
it's good. It's really good. Um, There's so much good stuff there. No, I really liked that. I really liked the yeah, the do it with purpose. That's great because you're right. You could put on, you could just fill people's calendars, but ultimately that's not achieving anything. That's
Mhm.
just keeping people busy, and you're not there to keep people busy.
Mhm.
It's really good. So what would looking back over the last 12 months, if we were casting our minds back, what would the biggest challenge from the last 12 months been when it comes to kind of building this community over at Muse?
Yes, I will say that maybe because I was doing a career pivot for myself from
Mm,
customer success to community, I think. And I recently joined a workshop with Carrie Melissa Jones, where she spoke about imposter complex, not syndrome. So I
mm,
liked that spin on that, where I think we second guessed, or in my case, I second guessed myself, even with the experience that I had with customers and tech companies. If it was, I work for Intercom, Pluralsight, like for me, that just went out the window. And
sure.
I think I questioned what I was bringing to the table when I have all of this experience. So for me, I think it's, yeah, I think for maybe the first 9 months, which that's the time I have been at Muse, I think it's, yeah, it is at the start just trying to shake off that
Mm,
imposter complex. Yeah, it was a challenge,
mm.
but I managed.
Yeah. I hear that a lot from community managers because often it's roles that they've fallen into, not kind of actively decided to go after. They just kind of realized they were good at it, and then they kind of filled a gap, and then they kind of became the role. So for them, yeah, I do hear that quite a lot. So I definitely hear you there. But I'm sure you're doing a great job.
Thanks.
Fab. And then casting our minds forward, what are you most excited about over the next 12 months?
Yeah, one of the things that I'm most excited about will be like the opportunity to attend in-person events. Actually, maybe your guest from Talkbase mentioned an event in June. I think the 12th and 13th
Yep.
in Prague. So
Yep.
definitely, I'll be attending that. I'll make sure to get my tickets. So those type of opportunities, learning and developing other skills, I think that that's quite important for me. And I think it is important to highlight that as community managers, and for your audience as well, even if you're a team of one, which is
Mm,
my case as well, we don't have to do this work alone. There's not only the content, but there's so many communities for community managers out there that the support is there. So basically, you don't have to do this alone. There's a lot of very supportive people out there that I'm sure you can reach out feel free to reach out to me as well. Uh, so yes, events. I'm looking forward to that as well. I forgot to mention that at Mews, I'm co-chairing a women's employee resource group, which
Nice.
right now we actually launched on International Women's Day this year.
Great.
Well, which was just a few weeks ago. So
Yeah.
for me, I'm looking forward to the events that we are going to plan internally for now, but we do
Mm.
hope as well to do things externally. So yeah, watch the space. Yeah, looking forward to all of that as well.
Oh, that's so exciting. That's really exciting. Yeah, no, I am looking at that event as well because I would also be keen to get out there if I'm able to. So it'd be good to meet there. I remember the first time I joined CMX, the Slack channel and community, being like,
Mm.
there's so many of us. I had no idea. Why did no one tell me there was so many of us? It's so busy in
Yes.
here. It's so noisy. I was like, I have to mute all these
Yeah.
channels. But yeah, no, it's great when you
Yeah.
find your place that you can kind of call home, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. No, it can get busy. Yeah, you made a good point there for sure. It can be too much at times.
It's good. It's good. Well, thank you so much for sharing your insights today with us, Isabel. Like some really good stuff there. I really loved I think my favorite thing you brought was the engagement kind of with a purpose. Like, our job as
Mhm,
community folk isn't to keep people busy, it's to keep people, engaged. And ultimately we should know what the goals of our community are, and we need to be focused on those, not just doing stuff for the sake of doing stuff, right? Because ultimately
mhm,
that works for a very short period of time. People very quickly realize actually there's no
mhm,
value to this random meeting I'm in, or this random
mhm,
cup of tea Zoom call I'm in, if there's no kind of purpose to it. So it's all got to be kind of focused towards ultimately what your goal is as a community, and knowing that's always number one, right?
mhm. Correct. Yeah, that's true.
Exactly. So, where is the best place for people to find you online if they want to ask any questions or if they kind of want to follow your story?
Yeah, totally. They can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can post that in the show notes.
Mhm.
So yes, happy to connect with people. And also, as you mentioned, CMX is one of the Slack communities that I'm part of. But yeah, definitely LinkedIn. That will be the best place.
Perfect. Well, thank you again for so much for being on, and we will be back next time for another Digital Community Managers podcast. Thank you. See you next time.